Okay, I apologize if I'm still a little sniffly. I have been very sick, very sick, and so I'm still recovering and probably should wait a little bit to do this. But I really actually want to use this deck, and so need to be able to shuffle the deck. Which means I would like to do a walkthrough of this deck. So that's kind of where we're at. So I do apologize if I'm a little congested still and a little coffee maybe, but hopefully you'll have a little bit of grace. Now, I am so excited about this deck. This was a surprise deck. My friend Patrick had backed this on Kickstarter. I didn't even know about it. I know that he had another deck, I think an Oracle deck of the same creators, which I'll talk about in a second. Not the deck, but the creator. I know that he had another deck of his, but I didn't know about this deck. I missed my radar. Anyways, you know how on Kickstarter sometimes you can do where you get the two decks for the early price. And so he had picked up two decks and sent it to me as a surprise. I didn't know it. I wasn't waiting for it throughout the Kickstarter or anything. Like it just literally came to me last week. What I love about this is that it reminds me, and this is not a comparison sort of either of these decks in a judgmental way because I love both of the decks, but it reminds me of what I love about the Santa Muerta. So I have a walkthrough of the Santa Muerta Tarot. What I absolutely adore about the Santa Muerta is the minors, the number cards. I think that the creator does an amazing job at the numbering, visually seeing the progress of the number system in such a really amazing way. I love the number cards in this deck. I use this a lot during the October 31st through November 7th is where I do a lot of intense ancestor work, and I've definitely used this in that context. But I don't really use this for clients ever. It does have, a bandito flair, and I don't know. Hopefully, that's not a. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, so hopefully that's not a derogatory term, but it has that style of like the old. I think about old Western movies that I've seen with the banditos and the clothing. There's machine guns in here and lots of swords, which is not an issue. There's swords in all decks, but there are machine guns and things like that in here that I know some people don't absolutely love. But it's a powerful deck. I actually think this is an amazing deck and it's quite powerful, and the color palette is gorgeous. So, but obviously, this is focused on Santa Muerta, right? That's the name of it, Santa Muerta Tarot. But it does have a very ancestral vibe to it, even though obviously I don't have any ancestral connections to the culture here. But there's such a powerful, something about this deck that's so powerful. There's another deck that's similar to me. I didn't grab it, but I think it's called the, oh, I'm going to blank on it. Sorry, I have a sick brain. Um, it's all skulls. It's like a black deck with gold, and it has all skulls on it as skull imagery, or skeleton imagery, and it can be quite powerful. What this reminds me of is the Santa Muerte tarot combined with the Neoclassico tarot. Now, the Neoclassico is one of my favorite historical decks, or like the Soprafino, right? That's what it feels like. We've taken sort of that ancestral vibe that's so strong for me in the Santa Muerta tarot and combined it with the visuals of the Soprafino or the Neoclassico tarot, two of my favorite historical decks. And this is what we have. That's what it feels like, which is absolutely amazing. So I pulled up the websites because there's not really anything on the back. We'll talk about the deck, I promise, in a second. And this is what the artist has on their website. Tarocchi by Mr. Friborg is a love letter to the old school tarot decks of a different era. Inspired by the classics, the artist has selected his favorite cards from a small selection of his preferred decks and then added a unique twist in order to put together this little gem of a deck. The result is an eclectic yet cohesive set of tarot cards that aims to be modern and timeless at the same time, which I believe that he has succeeded at. The cards in the major arcana, as well as the court cards, are directly inspired by classic tarot decks with only refreshing twists. The decks that have served as inspiration are, and I did not know this when I said this, I was trying to explain to Patrick what I felt about this deck. The decks that have served as an inspiration are the Soprafino, the Metelli, the Minciotti, the Neoclassico, and the Atello Tarot. The minor arcana is more loosely inspired by the classics as well, and there are many nods to other classics such as the Rider-Waite-Smith and Tarot de Marseille. All of the artwork has been redrawn by Mr. Friborg in order to achieve a sense of cohesiveness throughout the deck. And that's what we have. It's literally a marrying of sort of, again, this beautiful imagery and style in some way, or feel, motive feel to me of the Santa Muerte with these classic decks that make this just perfection. Perfection. Okay, so let's get into it. Here's the box. This is a tuck box. It has not just a visual feel of age, but it has a textural feel as well. Almost like this is like a wall with that bumpily underneath it and the fresco kind of chipping off of it. We have like an old seal imagery here, published at arcanetvm.com. First edition, first printing. Tarocchi by Mr. Friborg is a classic 78 card tarot deck consisting of 22 major and 56 minor arcana cards, vintage edition. I don't know if there's other editions or that's just the first edition is vintage and he's going to put others out. As far as I can see from the website, that's the only version that's available. And again, this was a Kickstarter, but it's available on this website now. So tuck box, sturdy tuck box. And then we do have a little booklet here we'll look at. And the backs of this are stunning. Look at the backs. Absolutely beautiful. I'm probably going to have to pop, I don't know if I want to pop the color up because I want you to see the cards well. It's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Pink and like a salmon, darker salmon pink there as well. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that's the cards. We'll come back to that in a second. It comes with this little booklet here. Let me zoom in. Now, I will say that the text on this is very tiny. I have a hard time with my glasses. I think some too because of the gray background and the black text, there's not enough contrast and it's quite small. I can actually read it better in the screen, so that's what I'm going to do. The little white booklet is intended for the very beginners who are venturing into reading tarot for the first time, or those at the very beginning of this amazing journey. For you, dear experienced reader, I have nothing but gratitude for having chosen to acquire this little deck of mine, and I am proud that it now makes part of your collection and possibly your reading repertoire. I hope you enjoy it dearly. Yes, dearly. So that's what we have there. We have some notes too. To the aspiring reader. He talks about also the Reversals as high and low polarity, which I quite like that. The following meanings are divided into high polarities and low polarities. Many readers like to read reversals, meaning as if the card is pulled upside down, it suddenly has a different meaning, or rather the energy shifts, and can often be interpreted as a block to the flow of the energy, as are negative shadow sides. Many readers simply determine whether a card is meant to be read high or low by its position in the card spread. If the card position states something along the lines of what must I let go of, then it might be in a lower polarity. So he talks about reversals as high polarities and low polarities, which I think is interesting when you think about energy of the situation. Talks about pulls and spreads, 1 card pull, 2 card pull, different ways you could do that, 3 card spreads, and then it gets into the meanings of the cards. So you just get a very little bit, right? You've got the Fool, Almato, potential, high polarity keywords, low polarity keywords. So you have that obviously for all of the majors. And then you get into the minor arcana, and it talks about the coins, the cups, the swords, and the staves, basic idea of what those are. And then again, for each of the cards, you have the name of it, the high polarity keywords, and the low polarity. Now let's just peek. I want to take a look, and I already peeked at this, but I can't remember what it said. I just know I was happy with it. Yes. So here's the 3 of Swords, which, as you have followed me know, I don't read Rider-Waite-Smith strictly. I take those layer. It's a part of the layer, but my first layer is the number plus the suit, right? So the 3 is a number of growth, and the swords is a position of the air or the mind, not the loss that we see in Rider-Waite-Smith, because for me, that heartbreak and loss would be in the 5 of Cups. High polarity learning, bursting enthusiasm for learning and advancing, lessons to learn, following through with a naive spirit. Low polarity is poor discernment abilities. So I thought that was perfect. Now I have not looked at the 10. High polarity, end of a transformation, intellectual maturity, yes, seeing both sides of the equation, fruition, a result, favorable or unfavorable. Low polarity, betrayal by own thoughts, yes, intellectual conflict, nothing more to do about a certain situation or an unfavorable outcome. So yeah, and again, what's nice is this is a pip deck, and so it doesn't, you can read it Rider-Waite-Smith style if that's your meanings, but with a pip deck, it leaves it open for interpretation. But I'm always curious to see, okay, was this, he does talk about there being hints to the Rider-Waite-Smith as well as Tarot de Marseille, so I wondered what that would be, so that's pretty cool there. So yeah, so that's what you have, goes through all of the cards. Apparently there's a expansion pack. I don't know what this is, unless it's in the deck and I missed it, but I don't think so. It says the expansion pack for Tarocchi by Mr. There's a set of 24 cards that can be used. This must have been maybe an extra or something. I don't know. I don't think that I have this. So here are some extra cards, maybe to pull in. Yeah, that must be to maybe pull it. It looks almost like maybe that pulls it into the Minciata. I'm going to have to look. Yeah, that looks like that might pull it into the Minciati extra cards. Yeah, Aries. Yep. I'm going to have to look into that. I don't know if that's something that you can get separately or not. That's pretty cool. In fact, I'll look that up right now so I can tell you. Okay, so there are actually 2 versions of this. The vintage, which is obviously looks vintaged and old, and then a non-vintaged up, edited up, scrubbed up version of it that you can get on the website. And then there is an expansion to make it basically a Minciati deck. Isabel, she's just all digging to China right next to here. There is also a expansion for both the vintage or the regular, which I will be ordering. She just has to get all, she can be doing nothing until I start to record, and all of a sudden she's going to dig to China there. Okay, so there we go. That's exciting. I will definitely be ordering that expansion, and I'll do a different video on that. Okay, so that's what you have. Basic things here. What you're mostly going to get with pip decks anyways. All right, so now let's take a look at the cards. I have not been able to shuffle these yet, obviously, because I haven't mixed them up. It is, I don't know, I'm sure it probably says somewhere. It's a nice thick cardstock. It is matte, but it is not the sticky kind of matte whatsoever. It's a nice feeling cardstock to that, but we'll have to give it a shuffle. So here we have the Fool. Now when I started to look at this, I didn't know what I was looking at, right? This came with a box of some decks that my friend was getting rid of, along with this, which was a gift. So I kind of started to think, okay, that looks a little skullish there on that Fool, but there are some old style decks that look very interesting. So I didn't think a whole lot yet. Then I turned this over and I thought, oh, like again, very old school, but definitely a skull theme sort of coming in, not aggressively, but it's certainly there. I was just kind of flipping through, so I wasn't like sitting here analyzing it. I was just shifting my way through. And I thought, okay, wow, that's pretty cool. Then I got to this one and I was just like, bam, sold. Like this High Priestess card is stunning. Stunning. I love the veil over the skulled face, very clearly a skulled face. Again, very reminiscent of Soprafino style decks, all the decks mentioned. It's beautiful, right? But then you have that skull there. I like the book in hand as well. I'm obviously more reactive to books than scrolls, so I love the book there. It's just beautiful, and I remember messaging saying, "Oh my goodness, that High Priestess is gorgeous," and then I'm like, "Okay, here we have a theme. Look at the Empress." She is so powerful. I love her body posture. I love the grip that she has on the globe and the shield. She has the old style, which I prefer in empresses, that they look like regal empresses instead of Mother Earth. Mother Earth for me is the Queen of Pentacles. So I love a good, Mother Earth empress, but I love my most favorite empresses are the ones that look like the female rulers. And she looks like a female ruler. And again, her body posture is amazing and strong. So she looks like a ruler there. Then here we have the Emperor. I guess we can put him this way. To be honest with you, she looks more powerful than he does. He looks slightly more slouchy, which sometimes emperors do. Maybe he's more comfortable in his throne to his detriment, because she might be coming to steal his throne. But he's pretty cool. I love him as well. But she, to me, looks like... If we've got this couple right here, who's the real ruling power? Probably her. So really, really awesome there. So I was definitely on board. I'm like, what are we looking at? Are we doing zombies? Are we doing, just the kind of skull undead or, passed over rulership? Like, what's this theme here? I don't even know what's going on. I was super stoked. But the more I went, the more I was like, this to me just is a perfect ancestral deck. It feels very ancestral. I do like using decks that have skeletons or skull type work in them. I think it's an amazing tap-in, but yeah, this is still so stunningly beautiful and classic feeling that it was just hitting all of the spots by this point. Here we have the Emperor. I do love when they do the 4 this way versus the 1v4s. It's just a little thing I like, and especially historical style decks. Look at him. That's gorgeous. I'm not a huge fan of the old style, Pope Pope style hierophants, but I love the white here. Again, this feels really ruling power of the hereditary passing down and the mediation that can go so very wrong as well. I don't know why this is all extra wobbly. I apologize. That's probably very nauseating. I'm not sure. I must be leaning on it heavier than normal. I apologize. But here, he's quite beautiful. Again, I love the white here that we see even in the Empress. It does feel very powerful. You even see some white under the robes of the High Priestess or the Papist. So there's that. Look at this. Like, this is gorgeous. And then I'm just like, at this point, I'm in love. Like, the Lovers is absolutely stunning. The interesting cherub with the arrow going straight over the head is quite powerful as well. And the choice and the crowning of the choice, I think, is really beautiful as well. Obviously, we have a female making the choice here versus the male making the choice. But beautiful. She is just gorgeous. This is a beautiful card. Look at this Chariot. Chariot's my birth card. I don't often love Chariot cards. I like a lot of them, but I don't love a lot of them. I love Chariots that are up in the clouds or on water, where it's that very clearly not stable ground and yet able to drive, from that place of strength. So I love that. We still have the black and white horse here, which is gorgeous. It looks like it's moving instead of some old style decks that look like you couldn't move that chariot if you wanted to. Love the driver here. It's very beautiful and very powerful. This feels like my ancestress who is driving the chariot of my confidence here. Here we have Justice at 8, and then we would have Strength at 11, or Force at 11. Look at her. I mean, look at the power of the face of the lion. Look at the power and the strength, just kind of chilling out next to this column. Like, that's a strong strength card. You put those two aspects of self together, you're talking about an empowered human being, right? Powerful. But we have at 11, as the old cards would have been, which is my preference. I don't mind. I can read them either way. I just read them as they are. But my preference is Justice at 8 and Strength at 11. So I love that. Here we have the Hermit, very traditional Hermit here with the crutches. Don't have the lantern, which I like, or we don't have sometimes a timepiece or the hourglass or something like that, which I do love. But this is quite a traditional Hermit who is going off. Doesn't need anything but the skin on his bones, right? Literally, because the wisdom is incorporated within, which I that's kind of how I roll with that one. Beautiful, beautiful Wheel of Fortune. Again, Wheel of Fortunes are for me kind of like chariots. Like, I don't often love them. They're usually, like, to me, almost throwaway art cards. They just kind of feel like, whatever. This is beautiful. I love her hair, love her standing on the wheel and this staying balanced with the turnings and just move with the turnings of the wheel. I really love this one. Again, I love the use of the white clothing in the major arcana. It's beautiful. We talked about this. This to me is powerful. Absolutely love it. I love his way that he does his female hair. So far, to me, is absolutely gorgeous. But look at that lion face, just gorgeous. Here we have the Hanged Man. Again, the use of some white in the I was going to say leotards. I'm not sure if that's a term we use anymore, but hose. Beautiful clothes. The clothing is also gorgeous in this deck, which reminds me of like the Soprafino or the Neoclassico. So absolutely beautiful. Hanged Man. I like the, again, you can see the crown more almost radiating out onto the ground there. Here we have very traditional, powerful death. The opened mouth is very powerful. The skeletal horse. Again, these are it's a very traditional with the body pieces and on the ground here and the harvesting sort of death that we have in the scythe. Very beautiful. Look at this Temperance. This may be one of my favorite Temperance cards. It's beautiful. I love the plants. Again, we've got that traditional mixing. It's very alchemical for me, choosing what we're going to mix to create the balance that we need in that moment. It's just beautiful. You know, you've got this very skeletal face that he's working with on his the whole theme here, but it doesn't detract from the beauty, and to me instead lends that sort of ageless timelessness, that this energy continues to move past time and life, right? So it's quite beautiful. I love that. Here we have the Devil, quite a typical traditional devil. They're not messing around. None of the, sometimes you get some quirky devils with faces in the stomach and things like that. You don't see this. This is quite powerful imagery for the devil, and it should be, right? It's a callback to power. If you are giving over and abdicating over your power and your responsibility for choice, it's a big deal, and it needs to be heeded when it comes up in a reading and says, take your power back because you're abdicating it. It should be a strong call back, and this is a strong call. I love the coloration of the red, especially again, you have a fairly pastel, not fairly, it is a pastel palette with, you know, deep tones within that, but deep tones, that's like a it reinforces the strength of the card, the color tone. Same thing with death. And so then when you have this with a whole palette of the card feels that way, again, it gives this sort of reaction to through the color tone as well. That's quite beautiful. Here we have the Tower, which is that sort of burning tower that we see in older decks, and the fleeing and removing themselves with somebody almost looks like they're grabbing hold of her hair. I've always said, this reminds me of my theory that, look, if the zombie apocalypse comes, this is not a zombie deck, but we've got some overtones here. But if you have a zombie apocalypse, this hair is getting all chopped off, right? Because this is exactly what happens. Something's going to grab your hair and try to pull you back in. But she's getting out of there. She is getting out of that tower. No falling. She's running for it. Here we have the Star. Really beautiful. Again, the tone of the card is quite dark and night oriented. I do almost wish that there was a little bit more brightness of in the navigation, but this is after the tower, right? And you're in the dark of the night and you have to find that northern star, and it may not be glowing bright in the sky, but you still have to trust yourself to navigate. So still works. Quite beautiful. Look at the moon. So here's our star and here's our moon. I love, again, the clothing in white. It just reminds me so much of like the Empress and the Neoclassico. I love all of the use of the white in these powerful positions. We can still see a dark tower and a light tower. We can still see the dog here, the moon going in front, you know, clouds going across as well. Really beautiful, but look at the glowingness of the water itself. It's just gorgeous. I love it. And then look at how powerful the sun. I'm so glad, because I'm thinking, look, this is based off of a lot of the old style decks, and there were a lot of six-packed, cherub babies in the sun. So I can't really complain, right? If there's a six-pack cherub. no, like this is the kind of sun that I learned tarot on, which is the sun card in the Llewellyn Tarot, which was Lou riding on a horse, this powerful, youthful energy of the sun. And this is like perfection to me of the energy of the sun, to be rooted and grounded in self and having mastered self. And this is where true happiness comes from, right? It works beautifully. And then we have the Judgment card. Again, very traditional, strong sort of blowing of the horn of the angels and the rising up. This call to, in this case, it's a call for assessment and a call for a renewal of life after you kind of work out how you got to where you are and acknowledge and understand the life that you've just lived. And then it's a call to a new life that the Judgment gives us as well. Quite beautiful. So again, absolutely beautiful. Love the skies. And then here we have the World card, which is, again, beautiful, traditional, beautiful. Love all of the foliage and things that are going on in, look at that. Really beautiful. And again, each of these are based off of an older style card and redrawn, again, to give that consistency. I need to pull out, I might do that here in a second. I need to pull out the Soprafino and Neoclassico real quick and see if we can see any direct correlations there, because I'm pretty sure we'll be able to and compare those. So let's do that actually real quick, because we're about to go into what I think is the most stunning aspect of this deck. So hold the line. Okay, I've pulled a few. Mostly you'll see them from the Soprafino. Here is a Soprafino. You can just see from the structure here that it's the same with, cleaned up and, or I should say de-cleaned up here and muted down into pastel colors there with the Fool. This you can really see the Soprafino Pope. Again, I really like the washing out of color. I love the roses in the background, that go with the theme. So it's kind of pulled it into more pastels and the whiteness, and I think it really is quite beautiful. But certainly you can see that there. Here is the High Priestess. Again, you can really see, this is such a beautiful High Priestess. And it's got the book as well. This is very similar, obviously taken from the Soprafino, with putting in the pillars that you would see, obviously, in Rider-Waite-Smith. So that's there as well. Here is the Temperance card from, yeah, this is still from the Soprafino. Even with the red swath of the, sort of that waist around it. Again, I do quite like the mostly white. Now this has sort of a light gray tone over it as well, but you can still see sort of the posture there from that. From the Justice card, you can definitely see the Soprafino with the wings. And again, that red cloth that's coming in around the waist there as well. Obviously, the the Neoclassical also has sort of the crown and the same positioning and that red cloth that's coming over the shoulder and around. So you can see they're both quite similar. Head direction more with the Neoclassico, but then the wings that we have with the Soprafino as well. You can really see the Soprafino card here in the World card. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're both just beautiful. And look at that. This is why the Soprafino is just so stunning. Absolutely beautiful. So there's that. This was kind of its own. He really, in my opinion, stepped it up on the Empress. This is one of my favorite Empresses. Now, what I love about the Neoclassico is the Empress in white. It's just one of my favorite depictions, but this is a very soft Empress. This is not a soft Empress, even though I love her. What he's done with this Empress, to me, is perfection. What else? Oops, I'm just dropping things over here. This is the Magician. Again, I don't know if I pulled the other, but you can see sort of the picture that's here and some of the tools that are here, and so, certainly the more of the cobbler magician that we have here. So there's then holding the cup in the hand. So anyways, I just wanted to pull a couple out so that you could see that. Now, the Soprafino, I will say, although it's actually, you know, this is, okay, here we go. These are beautiful miners, but my absolute favorite miners are the ones that were mixed with this into the ancient, let me 1 second here. I just want to make sure. Let me pause while I make sure I put things away correctly. The Ancient Italian Tarot is a deck that I recommend a lot. Like if you want to have a reproduction of a vintage style, old style tarot deck and not break the bank or have a hard time finding it, this is the one that I recommend. And it has the majors of the Soprafino that we just looked at, and then the minors are from the 1880 Avando. And the minors are my favorite minors probably of all. Like they're especially the older style. Look, they are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous minors. So that's when I if you love those Soprafino and you want even more gorgeous minors and cheap price and easy to grab, Ancient Italian Tarot is the way to go there. But so we've looked at, again, this was the Soprafino, which is from 19th century, so 1800s. This is the Neoclassico from 1810. And then again, this is the Ancient Italian Tarot, which is a Soprafino majors and Avando from 1880 minors. So those are three of my favorite decks that are still, in my opinion, absolutely beautiful. And the minors are stunning. These minors are amazing. Now, these minors remind me of, let me see if I can grab it. Now, there's an old deck that is called the Vachetta from 1893. And this is just a Lo Scarabeo reproduction tarot of the master. This is from Giovanni Vachetta, painter in turn, made in 1893. And this has been trimmed down. But this is a great reason why you can tell people, no. The Rider-Waite-Smith is not the first illustrated pip or illustrated minors. Like the minors on this are absolutely phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. And this deck reminds me of the minors. See all the different swords that are there. These minors are absolutely amazing and beautifully illustrated. Lots of times different types of swords or different types of like the handles are all different. I'm trying to find one that's the wands with, like, look at that. Absolutely, like that. Like, look at that. And I'm pretty sure we see something similar again with all of the different ones that are there. Some still nods to Rider-Waite-Smith. Not my favorite, but you know, we gotta flex. But absolutely gorgeous. So the minors remind me of the Vachetta. So yes, let's take a peek at them. I'm super stoked. I know a lot of rambling, but so here, of course, we have the wands And like, that's gorgeous. A little bit more Rider-Waite-Smith with the separated pathway opened up to with the wands there. 3 of Wands, 4 of Wands, 5, gorgeous, 6, gorgeous, 7, gorgeous. I mean, what do you want me to say? Again, 8 has the sort of, and I don't know, to be honest, if that is a tradition in any of the older decks, or if that, I think, would be more of a nod to the Rider-Waite-Smith. I don't think I have not done that research to see where that sort of all of the wands going across came into being. But I believe mostly you would have seen them interlaced together, not all coming apart like that. You would have certainly seen, well, not now in the Neoclassico, they're just kind of laid every which way. Let's take a look. Let's see if I can quickly find. Yeah, this is in order, I think, in the minors. You're gonna see, okay, well, let's find the actual, there we go. You're gonna most often see them interlaced with 8s because, 8s are strong. So this to me is more of a nod. Again, somebody can come in the comments and say, oh no, that started XYZ. I don't know where it started from, but I prefer the interlacing, the strength of all of those intersecting and interlacing the strengths of the 8th for me versus the swiftness of the Rider-Waite-Smith. But I'm not going to complain there. Gorgeous 9, absolutely gorgeous 10, and then we have our minors. Our court with the page. This is quite dark, I will say, in person, almost too dark. It looks great actually more on the screen. That's very, very dark. There's not a lot of distinction behind the figure and the darkness of that burgundy, but it is beautiful color. The color is absolutely stunning. But yeah, that's very, very dark, dark there, but look at how gorgeous. And again, I love the coloration there. Here we have our cups. 2, 3, 4, just beautiful. 5, 6, 7, that nod. 8 is gorgeous. Get a bit of a feel of Rider-Waite-Smith. 9, 10, gorgeous. I love her. So I think we have, let me go back here. I'm wondering with the, let me take the quartz out. Definitely to me seems more female in the cups, which is a feminine suit traditionally. Here we have the, is he a Sphinx as well? Yep. A little bit more nod to the Minciotti. The beautiful Queen in white. And the King is gorgeous. Quite a color contrast to the wands, but we'll come back there. Here's my suit of swords. 2. Absolute gorgeous. 3, I'll take it. 4, 5, 6. I like that, still creating the pathway. 7, 8, gorgeous. 9 and 10. Beautiful 10. Then we have our page, which again I would say looks more masculine. Guess you could go either way, which works as well. Here we have our, I don't want to say Sphinx. What would that be a name? What would be the name of that? The half, half people here, obviously more of a centaur, but you have the half animal, half humans in the knights, which again feels very Minciotti. Beautiful Queen of Swords and King of Swords. Kind of mid-tone to the dark tone between the cups and the cups and the wands. Sorry, I can't speak any further. Apparently, absolutely stunning Ace of Pentacles. 2, 3. I mean, they're gorgeous. This has that Avando Soprafino feel to it. 6, gorgeous. 7, I love the coins in some. Look at that. Love this. Coins might be my absolute favorite. 10. And then we have our page, our knight. I love how he looks like he's carrying that heaviness there. The queen and the king. So again, I love the, let me zoom out, sorry. I thought maybe it was going to do the female, she could be female though. And I guess it doesn't entirely matter, but I thought maybe they were going for the 2 females, 2 males for the pages, which I do like that mixing there. And then again, you can see where all of the, all of the knights are, you know, half animal, half human, male at the top. Again, this is really dark. I don't think it actually shows. I do wish that probably in the second edition, my recommendation would be to separate the figure a little bit more from the background, even though again, visually they're really stunning. But especially with the king and the knight, she's gorgeous. I wouldn't change a thing. And that's not bad either. So it's just the knight and the king that are very close to their background color, but still absolutely gorgeous and standing out. So beautiful court cards as well. Okay. Oh, such a beautiful deck. Such a beautiful deck. Let's give it a shuffle. And it has a, I don't know if it's going to show. In person, there is a slight sort of pink hue to it just because of the pink edging here. So I don't think that there is actually any pink coloration, but you know, when it's got any amount of separation, that pink shows up from the tops and is really gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Shuffles really well. It's definitely a slightly stiff riffle, but not, you know, that's going to work in to being absolutely a gorgeous shuffle. You can definitely do a shallow bridge, I guess I would call it. Not sticky. Again, matte almost feels like it's not. It almost feels, I'll try to swish it and see. Almost has that. No, it doesn't quite have that swish, swish, swish of a sort of like a natural cardstock, but it's close. It's got a really good feel, overhand or not, similar to some of these style decks. It's quite lovely, actually. A tactile experience and riffle as well. So let's just move it out here a little further. And just lay it out in my sort of standard full, see if we can get it to fit over here to the side. Full size, my version of a Celtic cross or a general tarot reading, just to see it out. That is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeousness. So there you have it. This has been a look at the Tarocchi Vintage by Mr. Friborg. I'll put the website link in the description box below. This was definitely a surprise. Some of you already probably known about this and were following the Kickstarter. I don't, unless somebody points out to me. I generally miss things. And so I definitely missed this one, but absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful pip deck that is still really evocative and beautiful to look at. It's why those of us that love pip decks don't like them being called unillustrated, because this is stunningly illustrated. It's just not scenic. And so absolutely stunning. Again, for me, this is going straight into my ancestor space to be used there. It just really has that beautiful connection again to decks that I absolutely love, but does have sort of a feel of refreshment, and the minors are absolutely beautiful, and then the skulls on all of the figures does give it that outside of time feel that I think is amazing for me personally, for my personal readings, for ancestral past life readings, those types of things. I think it's just got that feel for it that means that this is heading straight into ancestor space for me. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night whenever you're watching this.